right, and we're live just like that. Welcome everybody to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. I've got my special guest, Brian Wockenfuss.
You did good.
I'm gonna call him Brian, and we're gonna leave.
Yes,
Uh,
I've heard worse. Thanks for having me, Dave.
thanks for coming on. I did want to mention real quick because we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, and I know we're probably going to have a lot of questions. Already got a great crowd over there in the chat room, looks like. But I did want to remind everybody that we're still running the Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge. You've got, not counting what time you might work in your shop tonight, you've got about 3 days because the challenge will end at the stroke of midnight, Christmas Eve. So get me your video entries in if you're planning on entering the challenge. And if you need any information about that, let's see, I don't know if I had a link. Yeah, I guess I didn't make a link up for that. I should have. Anyway, you can go to the website at, I don't know if I even had that on here. Anyway, the website, davegatton.com, and scroll down on the main page and you'll see the big red challenge button. So you can hit that and it will take you over there and give you all the details you need to know to enter the Christmas challenge. All righty, we're going to get right into it because I know we got lots to talk about. But let me just preface this a little bit by saying that a few weeks ago, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, whenever it was, when Jim Senecola was on here and he was showing us his pen holder and his drag knife holder, and it got me wanting to make a pen holder. So I made one, and I made it pretty much just like the one Jim showed. But then I got to thinking, I wonder what other people are doing with pen holders. So I went to YouTube and I Googled pen holder, and the first video I saw was one by Builds with Brian. And it was a video where he's showing several different pen holders that he made. And his channel was so interesting that, needless to say, I didn't get to watch anybody else's pen holder because I ended up the rest of the day binge watching Brian's videos on that thing. And then I saw the video with the t-shirt, and I'm like, all right, that's it. I got to try to get this guy on the show because that is just too cool. So anyway, welcome, Brian. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get started talking about these pen holders.
Well, I'm a pretty new YouTube channel. June of 2018, somewhere around there, I started. Always wanted to make one, just never thought I really had the time, or one day you just decided to do it. Right, Dave? Just get started. I really like building things, and I probably missed my calling. Is maybe I should have been a shop teacher in high school, because I like sharing, what I've learned how to build with other people. And that's really what my channel is about, is I try and share, what knowledge I've gained. Heck, a lot of the times I'm learning something new and passing it on at the same time, adding my part to it. I'm pretty new to the CNC world as far as actually owning and operating a machine. Just been about, but I've been doing CAD drawings and drafting for people that use CNC machines for a while. I subcontract a lot of parts out that need laser cut for jobs, so I've been making the files. So it was it was an easier transition for me to move into CNC, because I have the drafting background. It's a great hobby. I use it also for my work, and I like to have fun with it. And I'm assuming a lot of other people have fun. I mean, it's not all about work. I mean, a lot of us are tinkerers, and we do stuff as a hobby. That creates something like the T-shirt, or the drawing. give you something fun to do besides just, make money or cut wood or metal with your machine.
Okay, I'm just adding a quick banner here, but I'll just tell people too. If you want to check out Brian's YouTube channel, there's a link to his channel in the show description. So feel free to click on that and check it out.
Did I see we have someone from Australia tuned in?
Yeah, probably do. In fact, let me real quick. We'll just take a quick minute and do a couple of shout outs over here. We have got, I'm going to go through these real fast, folks. We got Javi from Javi's Wood Shops in the house, Clyde Labani, Dwight Bennett from Indy, Matt, Awesome Wood Things Haas. Hello, Matt. How are you doing? Jim is here. I don't know who that Jim is. He just says Jim. So Mike Haichu. I think that's Michael McCrite, I think is his first name. From Arizona, Dave Krause, Rob Hampton. Yep, sure enough, we got somebody from down under. Kevin Els, he's a frequent viewer. He is in South Africa.
Whoa.
Hitch Hamilton, my old buddy, school buddy, is watching from Florida. Don Puckett's in the house. Ronald Ledger. Bob P. Let me scroll on down here and get a few more. Jerry Bonifield, John Lang, Steve Atkins, Landis Stutz, Steve from Harnell Media. And let me get a few more here. We have got a pretty full house. Harry Ragland's in the house, Ryan Ballard, Leroy. Let's see here. Steve Toronto. I'm trying not to miss anybody. Flint Bone, Gary Davis, John. Always have to look at his name close to spell it. Olthifer, I think. I don't know. We'll just call him John. There's Patrick from Patrick's Workshop. Becca Miller's in the house. How you doing, Becca? Big bunch of folks over here. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? There's Scott Wilson, Mike Smith, Bart Bixel. I think I might have already hit him. Clyde Labani, James Long in the house. Ronald Cool. All right. Michael McCrite, Dave Clemens. All right. Good to have you all here with us tonight. So yeah, I'm sure the folks want to see, and they'll probably go back and watch the video. But if you could, Brian, if you could kind of start with your different kinds of pen holders.
Sure.
Just whatever you want to show us, but I'd like for you to show those. I think those are pretty cool.
Okay. Well, I had played around with. The reason I made the video originally was because I've had experience with drafting and drawing for many years, but I can pretty much make anything from a drawing. But to be able to show someone how to make something on the videos is a little bit different. And so not knowing everybody's skill level or what equipment they have, I didn't want to make one design and make a drawing and say, hey, here it is, guys. I figured I'd show 3 or 4 different kind and using different tools and methods to build them. Because if you want to play around with, drawing with your CNC, what you're gonna build is probably dependent on what kind of tools you have. So let me show you first just the basic. We'll call this the basic one. It's basically a piece of wood with a cheap advertising type of pen. Everyone gets these pens. You go to the bank, you go wherever. You take the pen parts out. It's all detailed in the video, but inside of a half an hour, you can make this little thing right here, and you could be drawing in your CNC. But this is as simple as it gets. The second one that I think is probably, I'd say it's even easier if you have maybe one more tool in your shop, and that would be say a vise to bend this little piece of aluminum. I think I made this thing in 12 minutes. I mean, seriously, the aluminum part anyway, guys. The wood part was just some scrap hardwood that's just glued together. Couple of holes drilled, a slot for a hose clamp that holds this onto your spindle or your router. Piece of aluminum, you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot, any good hardware store. It's 1/16 thick, 1 inch wide, and you can bend this in a vise. You can just take the refill from a decent quality pen and measure the hole sizes you need, drill the appropriate hole sizes, do these couple bends, and you make this little spring you attach. Let me show you how easy that one is. All this stuff is just available. I'm sorry, I'm kind of the camera's way up here. Here's a spring, right? You can get that probably anywhere, like any hardware store. I have a junk drawer, where I keep a bunch of springs, a flat washer, and I'm not going to take this off, but this is just an O-ring. And you can get those at an auto parts store, or they also have those, at Lowe's in the plumbing department. You want one that fits pretty snugly, because that's basically how you're retaining your spring. Put your washer on, your spring. Let me grab that part. So you can see that hole on the top is bigger, and that fits the top of the pen refill. And the bottom one is just big enough to pass. I'm sorry, I keep going out of frame.
Yeah, you're good. I really like that one because it's it's just so darn simple.
I mean, it really is. And you can swap this refill out with different colors. They make them in red, black, green, blue. They also have different pen points. You can get fine, ultra fine, or medium point pens. Depending on if you want to draw something pretty detailed. If you want to draw text very small, you want something like with a very fine point. And I believe this is a fine point. This is an ultra fine. And this will draw a very thin line. I mean, you can draw 1/16 inch tall text with this type thing. A very detailed line drawing. While we're
got a quick question for you while I got you in full view here, Brian. Javi's question is that exercise/yoga/strain relief mat on your shop floor there, the blue stuff. So is that a mat or is that just blue paint?
It's actually steel plate painted blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my floor here, I'm actually on the second floor. Beneath me is my barn. There's horses, horse stalls below us here, and all that type of stuff that goes along with the barn. We're on the second level. And since I do welding in here, and this is a wood frame structure, I have 2 layers of subfloor, and then this entire floor in my workshop is sheeted with 16 gauge steel plate. And that's mainly because I occasionally have to do some welding in here. My welding table is actually taken down right now because I was building a big custom CNC machine. But normally I do it back in that corner over there. But I blanketed I covered the whole floor with steel sheet, and it's painted just an epoxy paint. Fleck.
You're getting lots of comments about your shop here. Everybody agrees that it's a pretty awesome shop.
Well, it's the dream shop.
I guess the welding and the wood structure would not work together too well.
The sparks usually go out, but usually is the key word there.
Yeah.
I don't want to build a building that it took me a year to build this place and have it go up in smoke because I cheaped out. So, I mean, a concrete floor is better, but I'm working with what I got. So
yeah.
Okay, so the floor, everyone likes the floor. So do I. It's scuffed up, but what I just wanted to show you real quick, I don't know if I can zoom in on this to show you like a little bit of the text that you can do. Let that focus.
Mm-hmm.
The upper stuff, of course, was using that's a Sharpie marker. And there's the font sizes. And then, I don't know if I can Get that in there. Everything's backwards on the camera here.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to move. You always go the wrong way at first.
Yeah, all the way down here, that's 3:30 seconds text. And I have drawn smaller than that, but I didn't on this particular example sheet.
Yeah.
And that's pretty small. And that fine point pen here, if you want to do some detailed line drawings, this is the one this is what you want to go with right here. Like, let's say you know what patent art is? Does anyone out there know what patent art? Any people out there? It's
it'll take probably 20 seconds or so before we see any comments when you ask a question because of the lag. But
it's not a new thing. But like someone years ago started digging up old patent drawings. Old-fashioned hand-drawn patent drawings that have like figure A, B, and they make really nice art hangings. If you want to like try and duplicate some of that, and you can go to the U.S. Patent website and actually download those drawings. You just got to filter through them and find one you want. You can make a nice wall hanging as a gift for someone. You can find an old farm implement or a wheelbarrow, a lot of stuff, old machinery. They got some really nice hand-drawn old drawings but you have to have something pretty detailed to recreate that. Something like this is
that's just an excellent idea to find something, an old drawing like that, and then make a hanging where you could give it to some geeky friend of yours or something as a gift. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's really, I mean, just picture if you can draw it, Dave. If you can pull the artwork in, you can make it. I'm trying to. I was just going to maybe find an example on the internet.
Okay, yeah, I thought you were ready for me to turn that on. That's why I hit it.
I had the wrong window there. I got to open a new window. I have VCarve open right now, in case someone wanted to see any settings for anything. We'll keep that open. Patent art, just to give you an idea. I mean, yeah, here you go. Like, here's one of a gun. Let's see if we can.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is just an example of patent art. It's actually become quite popular. But you can do that yourself. I mean, if you can find the artwork, again, everyone here knows that does CNC work. If you can find the artwork, you can do it.
Now, what kind of file format is most of that stuff in that you're looking at there?
Well, most of these are just going to be images because they don't want you probably, stealing them.
Right. Okay. So you just bring them into VCarve and then do a bitmap trace or something?
I have done that with varied results. The bitmap trace, I'm no expert at it. I've had simple designs come out pretty good. And I've also had some complex stuff where I just gave up on because the amount of hand editing you had to do to get it to clean up, it just wasn't worth it.
I see the one right there it looks like the toilet paper holder one.
Right here.
That would probably be a popular one just to show people whether it's supposed to be over or under. Great.
Always over. No, it's really cool. But yeah, the biggest battle is, I'd say, finding the artwork. And if you can find the artwork, you're golden. I mean, there's a lot of vector sites that, you can get free vector art. There's also Etsy. You can find, if you don't do your own artwork, if you can handle your own artwork, I mean, the sky's the limit. Yeah. But if you don't have CAD skills or graphics design background, yet you still want to print some stuff out, it's out there. Rapidresizer.com. I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you've ever used that before, is great. Me and my son, we just here. Let me grab. We did a. We did a little sign for his daughter, my granddaughter's room, and I hope you can see this. This is just the ballpoint pen of it.
Yeah,
But we cut that out in plastic at 1/8 inch ABS, and he's going to paint it and hang it on the wall. And that was done using rapid resizer. So you can see, again, I believe I was telling.
yeah, if you could hold that up there and then hold it real still, because it takes the camera. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Ella Rose.
So another feature, I believe you and I were talking about this before the show, Dave, that I think people that are watching might be interested in. You know, there's some practical aspects to being able to draw something like this. Like if you want to preview this before you cut it out and say, hey, how big is this going to look when it's hanging on the wall? You can do a quick line drawing of it. You can tack it to your wall, and you can say to your better half or whoever it happens to be for, how's this look? Is it the right size?
Well, you know, as somebody who's worked at sheet metal fabrication shops and has spent many hours reverse engineering parts that a customer brings to me,
right?
You know, I would always try to lay the part down, you know, assuming it wasn't too big, and trace it. But if you had something really big, you have to kind of do some measurements and put points and connect them with a spline and all this kind of stuff. But it's neat because then you could use your pen to draw it out and then take the part to lay on there to see if you're matching, to get, you know what I'm saying, when you're trying to reverse engineer a part and get it close, because there is no drawing, you know, there's no mechanical drawing. You have to just, and it's, you know, if it's a square part or something, it's easy. But if it's a part that's weird shaped, I could really see an application there that would be pretty nice.
Right. And like a lot of us, I'm making an assumption here, but most of us are hobbyists. I mean, like I do earn money with my one CNC machine. I produce some products for a couple customers, but I'd say that's 50% of it. The rest of it, that machine's hobby for me. And you know, if you're making gifts for people or friends or family, if you're probably like me, if you're new, or if you're new to graphic design work, it's kind of hard to when you're working on a screen and you're making. It's kind of hard to picture what it really looks like when it's going to be output in the real world. That's what's really cool about this, is that you can print it out on a piece of cheap paper before you put a bit to wood. You know, instead of cutting a test piece, you can preview the scale, the size, and then you can make adjustments. That's a nice practical feature. All right, I think someone here asked, I see, where is Brian located? Greg Hamilton. I'm in Western Pennsylvania. Greg. Beaver County. Has everyone out there heard of the big cracker plant that they're building here in Western Pennsylvania? It's kind of made national news.
A cracker plant?
Yeah. What is it? It's the gas they use to make plastics, you know, natural gas. It's enormous. It's the biggest construction project in the country now. It's 3 miles down the road from me. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. What do we have here? Already made all the money I need. Now he's going to spend it.
Yeah, made all he needs. Now he just has enough time left to spend it. Hence the working hobby.
Problem there, Javi.
Yeah, that's all righty. So we're up to the second pen holder that you've made.
Okay, yeah. So we showed the. Let's talk about. Let's see. We did 1, 2. Here's the. Now this one isn't on its mount anymore. I took it off because I had it mounted on another machine, but it was mounted on a wood. Just a wood block, V block, and a hose clamp to clamp it to the spindle. They were just screwed together. But this one is different in that it operates by gravity. It has a couple of now I made this myself. Okay, it's not precision, and I did this with stuff I had on hand in the shop at the time. It's kind of hard to picture here, but there's a couple of in here. There's roller bearings that are from, I believe, Home Depot. I had them laying around. They're for those things that guide a screen door. Those little rollers that are in the bottom of a screen door. They have them in the hardware section. And I had an extra pack of them. And I had some of this 1/4-inch round stock. And they actually fit together. So I kind of just used them as like my own linear guide. So I have a set of 3 bearings here that keep this part captured in between those 2 rails. And this rides up and down. And it's under gravity here. There's no spring pressure. And on it, I screwed an aluminum C channel. This is actually that aluminum extrusion you put in like your table saw jigs or whatever. So it's like a T-track. I had a little piece of that left over and screwed that on there. And then I have a hose clamp there that I can, let's find a pen, a marker. You can basically just, you can slide your Sharpie marker right up in there or anything and then tighten the hose clamp. And I like this one because it's pretty universal. Like I was telling Dave earlier, you could put a crayon in this. If you can clamp it down, you can draw with a crayon, piece of chalk, whatever you want to do. Sharpie markers are great. You can use the fine point or just a regular point. You can use the wide point, whatever floats your boat. But you can swap the pens pretty easy. It's just got a channel that kind of centers it up. That's probably the best feature about this one is that it's more universal to whatever you want to put in it. It'll clamp. If it can fit in that hose clamp, you can clamp it on there. And again, you got to kind of come up with a contraption to hold this to your spindle. And I showed you what I have. Just a piece of a V-block that I ripped down on the table saw, and it was screwed to there. And that clamps it to the spindle. And you just bring this down, obviously with the cap off. Put a little down pressure on it and set your Z-axis, and it'll just pretty much float. And it'll take up any variance in the table. You really shouldn't have much variance in your table, but this will just keep enough pressure on there. Too much pressure, you're going to flatten your tip out. You're going to smash the tip of your marker, and you won't get much life out of it. So I have found that just the gravity pressure kind of puts just the right amount of pressure on there. You could use a spring, but then you have to be very careful how much pressure you're putting on the point. And it's actually even more important if you're going to use the fabric markers. Let me grab you one of those. This is pretty much the brand of marker that I've had the success with. It's actually made by Sharpie. It's called Stained. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And
is that just, since you were holding a Sharpie up there, I think too, are they the same size as far as when you're making a pen holder? Is it pretty much the same size as a Sharpie as well?
They're very similar, Dave. They're not identical, but they're so close. I'm going to say the Stained is slightly thinner.
Okay.
But again, here, let me grab let me take this out of here. And I can, when you have the aluminum channel, that'll encompass a wide range of diameters. You're not locked into something precise. I mean, this could be probably 9/16 of an inch diameter, and it'll still fit in here and center up on that channel.
Yeah. We got a couple of quick questions too, and I think they're about the one you're holding in your hand there. 11 Atlantica says, "Nice design, Brian. Does it skip?" I guess
No.
I guess there's enough gravity from the weight of that that little whatever you call it with the bearings that it's going to keep it down.
Yes. Skipping, it has happened. It's very rare. This one, I was explaining to Dave earlier. I'm actually replacing this one, and we're going to get to that in a bit here, because I have used this so much, I've worn it out. And it won't skip, but if you want to build one of these, you might want to use a little better bearing than I did, because I just used these crappy bearings. So this has a little bit of slop to it. Like here, you can see, if you can see that wiggling, right? Well, it doesn't skip, but what happens when when this is moving down the table and you're changing direction and you're moving the other way, your line, the resolution, it matters when you have detail. You'll see a little bit of like a wiggle in your line. And that's because there's a little bit of slop in these bearings right now. And that's why I've actually replaced this one. This actually still functions. It's kind of wearing out because I use crappy bearings. But no, it actually doesn't skip, especially with the ballpoint or with a felt tip marker. I have had a couple skips with a ballpoint pen, but most of that was because what I was drawing on had some texture to it. And like the fine point pen, you'll see it'll be a little bit darker and then a little bit fainter because of the actual texture of the paper. I've drawn on some I don't know what you want to call it, like art paper. It's probably meant for, charcoal. It's like a sketch pad. The paper's got a texture to it. It's better to use pencil, which I have done. I've done some pencil drawings as well. It's great. It's just if you're doing a big drawing with pencil, you have to stop and sharpen the pencil, put it back in, and then set the Z-axis again. Yeah. Because the pencil point wears out, and the lines get a little softer. It kind of it's a nice look to it, but it starts out sharp and clear, and then it gets a little flatter. You might have seen that. It's in one of the videos. I think it was a horse drawing.
Mike Smith's got a question here too. We might as well tackle now. It says, so what are the settings used in the toolpath to use that?
Okay, I don't know. Do we want? It's so simple. We don't even need to do it, but we can go to the V-carve screen. Let's pull that up. It's a profile path. Where are we at here? Let me get it up here, Dave.
Yeah, let me know when you're
All
ready.
Right. You can put it on there. So what you see here is a V-carve file of quite a few things I did for the one video. I just put them all in one file. And if I go over here to Toolpaths, I have quite a few in here because I kept them all. Right here, let's go with, let's see, the one that's, let me zoom in on this actually. We'll zoom in on this, and then we'll bring Toolpaths back out. I hope this is large enough you can see on your screen. But if we edit the toolpath,
I think
might be kind of small.
I can bring in this. So it looks like you've got 20 thousandths for the depth pressure.
Yeah, this might not be the best starter example, but what I want to show you is in almost all instances, the tool that I select is a 1/16 inch diameter end mill. It really doesn't matter. You could select a 1/4 inch end mill. The only thing that's going to change for you is if you preview it. Because what's important here, when you select a profile, if you're just drawing line work, you're doing a profile toolpath, and you are on the vector. Not in the outside, not in the inside. You are on the vector. So you're centered on the vector. So
yeah, so you'd want to try to pick like an end mill setting that's about the same diameter as whatever your pen tip is.
And the only reason you want to do that is for your own preview purposes, when you want to preview the file.
Right.
Because it makes no difference to the machine. In all reality, it just cuts right on the vector. It doesn't do any, like if you were doing an outside or an inside profile, then the software will adjust for areas where that necks down and your bit can't fit. but that doesn't matter when you're on the vector. So you can, if you select a 1/16 end mill, I usually put in depth of about 1/16 per pass. It's really irrelevant. That's really all there is to just drawing lines. Is a profile path. Let me close this one and pull up one that is just a line here. Let's go like right here. No, that's all hatched too. I'm trying to find one that's these are just lines here. It's just a font that is, these are just a font. And which one was this? There you go. Let's edit that. See what we got here. Okay, so I'm using a 2D profile toolpath, about 0.06 for the depth of cut. That's probably, it's not real important, your depth of cut, but I try and keep it around a 1/16 of an inch. And that's just so you have some control over how far you go down. When you set your Z-axis with your pen, you bring your pen point down until your pen, the tip is just touching the surface of your material. It's not super critical. You don't have to use a sheet of paper or anything. You just want to get it pretty much so it's just touching the surface of your material. And then you can have it, you can have your cut depth about a 1/16 of an inch. So that'll drop it down a 1/16. That'll put just a little bit of pressure on to take up any waviness that you might have in your material. You could actually lower it down further, and with the pen that has the floating head, the gravity, your pressure stays consistent, if that makes sense. As far as what tool, again, here we have a 1/16 end mill, and we are on for the vector. Ramps, tabs, that stuff is all irrelevant. You don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Really,
T Pete 61 asked, what type of feed rate do you use with the Sharpie?
as fast as your machine can handle, really. I run on this machine here, the Axiom, 150 inches per minute is no problem. I find that, you know, when you're doing something that's got a lot of turns, like this particular one that's on the screen right now, I mean, that pen tip is changing direction very rapidly because this text is small. So what you get is, you know, your machine has inertia, it shakes around a lot. So what you want to do is you want to start conservative, maybe start around 60, 80 inches per minute, depending on your machine, and see how your machine can handle it. It's got nothing to do with the pen tip. It'll draw as fast as you can really push it with a Sharpie marker. It's more or less what your machine can handle.
Yeah. How
robust is your machine? Can it handle the shaking, you know, that comes with, you know, rapid changes in direction? Just like if you're cutting with a tool bit. I mean, you have to feel your machine out and see what your machine can handle. But I generally run 150 inches per minute is a pretty decent speed. It's not, it kind of takes a while when you're filling something in, like if you're doing a hatch and you want to fill in solid words, it takes a little while. I mean, if you're in a hurry, you know.
Yeah. Ryan has an interesting comment here. He says, now that I have started modifying my machine to do new things, he's just added a laser. He says, I can't stop. Now I have to make a pen tool, dang it. Exactly. I know how you feel, Ryan, because I'm wanting to do this t-shirt thing that we're going to be talking about here in just a minute.
Yeah, there's that's the thing. I mean, there's so much you can do with it. A CNC machine is basically a positioning machine. You know, I mean, don't lock your. I didn't lock myself into saying this is a router. I mean, this thing positions. If you could use a drag knife, you could use a pen tip. Heck, I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing play the piano. So when I figure that one out, I'll let you know. I think I'm gonna have to write my own G code for that, though.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like playing one finger at a time if you just had the
It
something
would, but
come down.
it's more, and I'm okay with that, just for goofing around. It's
Yeah,
timing, getting it to
such
hit.
a little Casio keyboard under there or something. There you go.
I got a keyboard. I have a $5 keyboard at Walmart, but I haven't made any progress with it yet.
Or you can set a computer keyboard out and get it to type things for you.
Well, that's actually the easiest part, is like mapping out a keyboard. You just basically measure it, and create a file, map it out, and you can hit any key you want. It's getting it in the right timing to make music is going to be the real challenge.
Yeah.
All right. So we left off with this one. Do we have any questions on this one? Now, I realize a lot of guys may not. This I made from acrylic because I had it in my shop. It's what I used. It was simpler for me to make than wood, but you could easily make this frame out of wood. I'm going to show you one that I just made today. Just today, I started on it about 1 o'clock this afternoon, maybe 1:30. That I think is a lot easier for someone without so much shop tools. I mean, it's just easier to make. So should we get into that, Dave, or should we take?
Let's show that last one, the one you made today.
Okay, I'm gonna actually take the webcam off the computer and we're gonna go mobile here. Okay.
Okay, everybody, hang on, buckle up.
Hang on, it's gonna get shaky here for a minute. I'll try and keep you from getting too nauseous. All right. I'm going to try and look at the screen at the same time to make sure. Can you hear me okay, Dave?
Yep, you're coming in good.
All right. So what we have here is essentially the same thing as that white one I just showed you that was made out of acrylic. Only this one was made from a drawer slide. I had a leftover drawer slide that was removed from a cabinet. The one was bad and got thrown away, and I saved it, the good one. And the inspiration just hit me today to try a new version of this. And here's what we got. A couple hours of work, and I have one that's actually better than the one I was just showing you. And it was actually pretty easy to make. You can see right here.
Hobby from Hobby's Wood Shop says, "Love it. I'm making one."
Yeah, this was from a full extension drawer slide, okay? But you don't really need a full extension drawer slide. You only need one bearing race and the 2 tracks. I actually pulled the other track away, and I'm not using it. And I cut these slide sections down to the lengths that I wanted. And I also cut that inner. I don't know if this thing's focusing very good.
Is that another little piece of T-track there?
Yes. Well, that's actually just a piece of aluminum channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Track. I'll show you that in a second. But what I really want you to see is there's the bearing race that's in between the two. That's its own part. And I just wanted to have 2 sections of bearings so that it had ladder, stability going this way. And it's pretty rigid. I mean, it has very little flex to it. And it operates under gravity as well. The trick of this whole thing, the only thing that was difficult was to locate the little mounting screws so that, no screws hit each other, and was also working around the holes and slots that are already in the drawer slides. So you can see here, this one here, if you're familiar with drawer slides, the one that my hands are on right now, this part here is the intermediate, and then there's actually another one that screws to the cabinet body. But that we've discarded that. We're just using this one. So I did take some video of this as I was a couple clips. Let me see here. I'm showing you here. Here's the leftover parts. This is the outer part of the drawer slide that I didn't use. Okay. And here are the bearings that go with the outer slide. And then this is the one that I cut the piece off that the pen is mounted to. And this is the intermediate one that I cut a section out. And then, of course, this is the race that fits in between this and this. So you actually, you know, in order to do this, you got to cut these pieces. And I use the Dremel and a hacksaw. And you have to actually pull this out, and the bearings fall and go everywhere. So you got to catch them. And then when you reinstall this, you have to reinsert the bearings.
Mm-hmm.
I can pull a video up of me doing that. It's really, it is not as hard as you think. I mean, when these bearings first all fell out on me, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But it was actually pretty easy to put them back in. I think it's, there was some grease on them. I cleaned all the grease off of everything before I put it back together. And once it was all together, I just used a little bit of machine oil, because I greased it first, and then I found that it kind of made it sticky, and it didn't want to fall under the gravity. So I cleaned the grease all off and did it again with machine oil, and it worked. Yeah. And it worked really well. Let me see.
That one of the ones you've shown, that one is my favorite so far, because it's just so dadgum simple to make.
Well, I mean, if you can go to, you know, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy a set of cheap drawer slides, and you have a linear bearing already. I mean, who can beat that? I used one that was left over. I had a bad one, a set that one was bad, and what's one drawer slide good for? So I kind of turned it into one of these pen holders. Let me see if I can pull up that video here.
Okay.
I just want to show you me popping the bearings back in there. I think I got to go to my iCloud. Give me a sec. Let's see here. New window.
Jerry Brown has joined us. He says your shop is way too clean.
Oh, it's not clean, and it's really upsetting to me right now. I mean, I feel like I've invited someone into my house that's dirty, you know. You know, Dave, I didn't spend, you know, a lot of time building this place to keep it filthy. I try and keep it clean. The working with wood makes it a challenge, though. All the dust. That's one thing I like about plastics, I got to say, while I'm trying to pull this up here. Plastics don't make all that fine dust that floats in the air.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. Okay, let me see. Let me get this lined up.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know when you got it queued up.
One where I pull all the little bearings in here. I took a bunch of little clips today while I was working on it. Is this it? Let me see. Give me a second. No. Probably should have downloaded this earlier, but nope. Any other questions I can answer maybe while we're...
Let's see. I think there was one a while back. Let me see if I missed it. I don't think I missed one.
Well, there's one, but this one I think was a little bit... Let me see. Nope, that was already together. That was the one I was oiling. Okay, this is it. Let me just get to a section where it's... Hope everybody's patient out there tonight.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I guess you can kind of pop that in there. Hope you don't mind the opera playing in the background. Sorry, we can mute that. So basically what is, you just put the two tracks together and you pop one bearing in, and then you just pop the other one in. There's enough slop in the two pieces that you just kind of rock it left and right, and you just have to do it a couple times. It was actually remarkably easy.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can see that. I might have actually a better view. I'm just picking up one bearing and popping it in, and then sliding the track back so it stays in there. Can you see that? Is that clear? Might be hard to see. It was really, really, trust me, I did it like 12 times. Because I had to keep putting this thing together and say, where am I going to drill these holes to mount it?
Yeah,
All those slots and stuff that are in the tracks. So it took a little bit of thinking, but once I got them together, and then you have to adjust it a little bit, tweak it, and screw it down, and make sure that you have to. You can see here that I have a screw at the bottom. Let me see if that'll stop it. There's a screw at the bottom down here and a screw at the top, and what they do is they keep the slide from popping off the track. So that was the trick, was to locate those. But if you fiddle around with it, it's when you have it right in front of you, it's not that hard to figure out. Maybe I'll make a video of it, Dave, showing the exact details.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think you should, because
every drawer slide is going to be a little different. Whether you buy K and V or.
Well, I know the whole time I'm sitting here watching your video, this clip, my mind is going a mile a minute thinking, okay, do I have any drawer slides out in the shop?
Right. Over here, you can see here's a piece of the arrow. There's a piece of the track that I cut away. That's the inner race, but it's actually pretty simple. Here, we done with that? Everyone happy with that? It's really, I thought it was going to be really difficult to put the bearings back in, but it ended up being quite simple. They said you just pop one in, and then you can just like pull the track. You twist the track just a touch, and it holds the bearing there while you pop the other one in.
Right.
And you slide it into the next set of holes, and you saw how quick it was. But like I said, I'll bet you that was the 10th time that I did it, because I had to keep taking this apart, trying to fit, and saying, where am I going to put these holes? But
yeah. Okay. Well, we've been on here about 54 minutes or so.
Oh boy.
But I don't want to get out of here, because I want you to talk a little bit about some of your custom t-shirts. Now we've shown everybody what you use to hold your fabric marker that you've already shown a while ago. But if you could kind of just describe your process, and I mean, we've got the video link in the show description, so
that's going to show it best given the time we got. But okay, here's one t-shirt. Okay, this is all hatch filled. You can see it's kind of like doing a V carve. You can do a line drawing, or this one is it's filled text. It's basically use the V carve or the quick engrave toolpath, and you can cross hatch it. You can do it on angle. You can do it up and down 90 degrees, but you want to do a cross hatch though. I find that out. Your step over about half the size of whatever marker you're using. If you're going to use one of these Sharpie stain markers, like I said, I tell the machine that it's a 1/16 of an inch end mill, and then I set the step over in the quick engrave as about 0.025 or 0.03, like a little less than 50% step over, so that you get a nice coverage. But that's just one example of a shirt you can actually do. Here's other ones I've done. Okay, again, here's some filled text and some in the filled shape, and then this is just line drawn text.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's more line drawn text. This come out a little fainter than I would have liked. Typically, you can run the file if you're just doing the line drawing, and if you think it's a little faint, you can just run it again, and it'll darken it up. And occasionally you can also drop your Z-axis down a little bit, and it'll make the text a little bit wider. They haven't all been successes though. Here's a back of that one shirt where I did like my logo.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit of playing around to see what is the smallest block filled text you can go and still get detail. I think I've found that 3/4 of an inch is about the smallest I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Or some of the islands, you want to call them, start to fill in and not look right. Your mileage may vary. I mean, depending on what kind of marker you use. So you can actually fill some pretty nice shapes in, but it's not really meant for the fine line text here. It does it, but it's not where this shines. I mean, using the block text is in my opinion a lot simpler and gives you a better result. And this thing here has been washed, I'm going to guess at least over half a dozen times, this one shirt.
Yeah, still looks great.
As far as the procedure, that's all in the video, but you need to use shelf liner paper. If you watch the video, I go into real in depth on how to do this. But as you know, a t-shirt fabric is stretchy, and when the pen tip is drawing on it, it can actually pile the fabric up in front of it. Wrinkle the fabric. So you have to have that liner on the back side of the shirt. So what you're doing is you're tricking the fabric into becoming not stretchy, and it won't move in front of the pen tip. It stays. It's glued to this basically, and this I use on the vacuum table. So this is held down nice and flat. So it makes it like you're drawing on a piece of paper. It works really well. I mean, it was kind of just like a brainstorm. I was wondering, how can I do this? How can I do this when I have a stretchy fabric that's going to move around? You don't want to stretch the fabric tight because then your design is going to be distorted. So I needed a way to stabilize the fabric so that you can draw on it. And it just kind of hit my, hey, line it with something. And this is just cheap, clear. You can buy this stuff at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's just clear liner. You can use any kind. The color doesn't matter. It's just peel and stick shelf liner.
Yeah, we're starting to get some questions now about the shirt process. How do you hold the t-shirts? How do you fix the t-shirt while you draw?
Vacuum table.
Yeah, Brian has an excellent video of him making the vacuum table, and then again the video where he's doing the shirts shows how he uses that vacuum table along with the shelf paper or whatever. Isn't that what you called it? Shelf paper?
Yeah, shelf liner.
Shelf liner, yeah.
Peel and stick shelf liner. Yes, it's cheap. It works good, and that basically you turn your shirt inside out. You cut a piece of the shelf liner roughly bigger than the design you want to put on the shirt. Quite a few of the ones I've done have been about 12 inches by 13 inches or something. You cut a piece of that. You smooth the shirt out. You put the liner down, get it all wrinkle free. Turn the shirt right side in. So now you have your fabric stabilized. It won't stretch. And you put that on your vacuum table, and you get out all the wrinkles. Turn the vacuum on, and then your fabric. The shelf liner is impervious to the air, so it'll hold that down to the vacuum table, and at the same time, the shelf liner will keep your fabric from stretching. So you have a stable medium to draw on. Works really well. I mean, if you use fabrics that don't have stretch to them, like here's a fabric that I played with. I don't know what this fabric is, but it really doesn't stretch. This was drawn without a vacuum table. This was just put down onto the a flat bed, spoil board, piece of MDF, and I just tacked the corners. And this drew excellent because it doesn't have stretch to it. But t-shirt fabric isn't like that. It's made to stretch. So, okay, so vacuum table, what else? Do we have any other? I mean, we can't.
Stuart says, I watched the video. Did you figure out a fix for the vacuum table?
I just haven't built it yet.
Okay,
Thanks for asking,
that'll be an
Paul.
upcoming video.
Yeah, the thing Paul's referring to is that my vacuum table is what they call the pegboard design. It has a bunch of 1/4 inch holes on it, 1 inch on center, and you can have the fabric of the T-shirt and the shelf liner can dip down into one of those 1/4 inch holes just a little bit. I mean, it's not much, but it's enough to make like if you're doing a big solid pattern on a shirt. I can show you an example here. Here's one of my failures. Okay, there's been quite a few. See those dots in the B?
Mm-hmm.
Those are from the fabric being pulled down into the hole on the vacuum table. And so the depth of it was different. So the amount of ink, the contact with the pen and the ink. This one was actually a failure because I ran out of ink while I was drawing this design, and I had to start back over. And you can see how dark this is. So this has been drawn like several times. There was just no fixing it. It was just
yeah.
That happens. Here, the front come out really good. The little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have some mistakes, just like with anything, so you can learn what works and what doesn't. So
yeah, you'll have a few screw ups. Hopefully, if you at least get a start from use what I have done as a stepping stone, and go from there, improve upon it. And I'm sure anybody out there can come up with something better than I can, given enough time and tinkering, and make a video or show us your results, and teach us something new here too. I'm just experimenting. I think that I want to try. Not using a vacuum table, but using a steel plate, but still putting the shelf liner on the back of the shirt, and then sliding the shirt over a steel plate and holding it with magnets, like I do with my paper drawings. And I think that may work just as well, because if the shelf paper, which in my opinion is the trick to this whole process, is using the shelf liner.
Yeah.
If I can hold it.
I was watching the video and I first saw you start talking about shelf liner. I'm like, what in the heck is he going to use that for? And then when you did it, I'm thinking that's genius. It's makes perfect sense.
It's
the shirt from stretching or bunching up. Holds it right in place.
It worked really well. I have to admit, and it's cheap. I mean, I hope no one gets the impression that they're going to go into business making custom T-shirts using this. That's just not going to happen. I mean, this process isn't for that. It's to have fun with.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's probably some folks out there going, why in the heck does Dave want to have this guy on here to talk about making T-shirts with a CNC? That's just crazy talk, But what I thought was so cool about it is, a lot of times you might want to make a very, very custom shirt to give to a friend of yours, or,
right.
And it's something that you wouldn't be, maybe you could get somebody to make it, but, a lot of times you got to pay a setup charge if you haven't done business with them before, and
oh, right. Yeah.
You got to, they got to set up the, they always have some kind of setup fee, and then you're going to pay more for it unless you get like a dozen or 2 dozen shirts or whatever. But sometimes you just want to make one of something.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
crazy,
my head spins with possibilities of those gag gifts for birthdays. The old your brother is turning 50. You should have seen the present I made for my brother's 50th birthday. It was hilarious. But we don't have time for that now. It wasn't a shirt, though. It was just something else in the CNC. I see a question here that I want to answer here. Brian, I've used the MDF as a vacuum tabletop. You have to machine both the top and bottom off, and the air will be drawn through the MDF. Just seal the sides. Yes, absolutely. You can use, if you have a powerful enough vacuum, you can pull right through MDF. And they even make a certain kind of MDF. It's UHMDF. I forget what it's called. Lightweight. It's more porous. And yeah, that's what the pros do. You know, they don't need the pegboard design. But again, consider your power source though. I'm using a rigid shop vac, a 16-gallon shop vac, 5 horsepower. The guys that use those kind of systems, they're usually using 220 volt, 10 horsepower vacuum motors that pull their flow. And I'm not sure if I can do that with a shop vac. I haven't tried it though, because common sense tells me it's not going to work. I mean, I would love to hear from someone who's made a shop vac pull through straight through MDF with no holes. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a video on it. But I'm a little skeptical, so I'm sticking with the holes for now.
Yeah. All righty. Anybody got any other questions? What's that?
Javi just said that it's all known as UDF. He's correct. I couldn't remember what it was called.
UHD 12. Yeah.
Also
known as UDF. Okay.
And it's also, you can't go to Home Depot and get that. You can't go to Lowe's and get that. You have to go to a distributor facility. If you're a cabinet shop, yeah, you have that available to you, but you can't just go down to Home Depot and buy a sheet of that.
Yeah, and that's not something they're going to keep on the shelf.
No, it's not. It's a special, and I know it's more expensive than regular MDF anyway. But Hurricane vac is a 4-shot. Yeah.
Don Chapin says, "How long does it take to print a shirt that way?"
Well, I'd be lying if I could tell you I remember the exact times. We're almost a year ago that I did that video. Well, I made some over the summer for my aunt with this design. I think this is about 20 minutes to do this. And it's the crosshatch that gets you, because you're going back, and then you're going up, and then it does the outline. So it takes a little bit of time. It's not, if you want to pump your machine up to 250 inches per minute, I'm sure you can do it a lot faster. I'm not in a hurry, so I'm trying to keep it a little bit more conservative. I'd rather do a little slower and not have to redo it than have it going too fast and something screw up and I have to do it all over.
Yeah,
quickly.
John says, "I see a whole bunch of T-shirts being entered into the Christmas challenge the next 2 days." You might be right, John. Earl says, "This is cool. I might have to think about this. I have an embroidery machine. I make stuff. I know about T-shirt material. I will have to watch this again." Just pulled into Louisiana. Yeah, be sure. Like I said, I've got I think Javi put the link out in the YouTube chat, but it's also down below. Just click the little show more button and drop all that stuff down, and you can I have a link to Brian's YouTube channel, as well as his how to make a custom T-shirt with a CNC. So, and Javi just put the link in there again, I think. So thank you, Javi. Let's see. Brian, make a Christmas shirt.
Is there anything that I know we ran short of time, sort of. Anything we didn't cover? Something that I think is really cool, aside from it's still fabric. Now I'm going to show you something that I didn't make this, okay, but I'm going to be making some of these, and I wanted to show some other people this. This is hanging in my dining room. My wife bought this at some wherever crap type place.
Yeah. Like a Michaels or Hobby Lobby or something.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby. Who knows? It's a wood frame with the fabric stapled to it, stretched, fairly tight, and a design on it. And I had done that with. I showed you the Live, Laugh, Love design, which was popular with everybody. I think this type of fabric is a perfect candidate for that. To be able to stretch, because when I did this, I just, like I said, I laid it on the table and just pulled it, till it was just tight and stapled it down. Now, I don't know that I would do that on the frame. I think I would do it on the table and then I would staple it to the frame afterwards. But I'm going to be making some of these in the future. I'm not sure exactly how small I can go with the text yet. Something I got to play with. Well, let's see some of you other guys try this. I mean, you know, good ideas for your better half. You know, they love this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's wall hangings of, you know, you could have this customized with your family name and all that on there. I think that's pretty cool. And this is something that you possibly could turn this into a hobby, you know, make some money with, you know.
Yeah.
If you sell stuff at crafts and whatnot. The t-shirts, you know, I really don't think you can compete with what people do with t-shirts, but you know, they're great for, you know, for fun gag gifts, making something for yourself. Something like that though, that has potential.
And you know, I'm just sitting here thinking out loud now, but and I know I'm not alone in this, but when you V-carve stuff and you know, you're trying to make a nice project, the part that I always hate is painting. You know, I hate the painting part. But couldn't you a lot of times use your CNC to actually put some kind of a marker in there where you're actually, you know what I'm saying? Don't they make some kind of pen that's almost like a paint pen?
They make paint markers, yeah.
Yeah.
Will you be able to get into a V groove? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I mean, like,
maybe not necessarily a V groove, but I'm just thinking of like if you were, you know how the old, I don't know, they used to call it folk art painting. I'm not sure what they call it now, but you know, where you take a piece of wood and you paint different things on it.
Yes. Yeah.
So you see, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but I can draw in CAD. So, you know, I'm thinking that I could use the CNC to be the artist.
If you, which video was it? It was the part 2 Fun with Sharpies video. I take a look at that one and you'll see I don't have it anymore. I'd show it to you. I threw it away. The menu board that I made. That's like along the lines of what you're talking about. It was a piece of MDF that I painted with that chalkboard paint. And then after that dried, I made a design and I used 3 different types. On the video, I'm using Sharpie marker, the silver and gold and bronze type, which worked really well on that blackboard material. But off screen, I tried some other samples and I used a paint stick marker. You can, you know, the kind you shake up. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you've ever been a welder, a fabricator, you may know the kind of markers I'm talking about because we use mark on steel and beams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically like it's like a paint can, but you don't spray it out. Yeah, I used one of those, and it worked really well. Nice, beautiful paint. It was wider than the Sharpie marker. The only problem I had was that the tip was drying out. You know, in between, like when you would draw something and you go up and you'd have to fiddle with something because I was playing around with it. The tip wasn't capped and it kind of dried out. And so when I put it back down to draw again, it drew like maybe like 3/4 of the letter before the paint started flowing through the tip. And, you know, that wasn't really acceptable. So I decided to stick with the Sharpie marker. But the bronze and the silver and the gold metallic Sharpie markers are really good for that, especially like on a black or a dull satin medium. I ended up getting rid of this because I wasn't real happy with that chalkboard paint that I used. You know, I want to get some real slate or real material that you use the chalkboard for and try that whole project all over again to make the menu that you can hang in your kitchen and write today's dinner menu on. Yeah. And then, you know, with chalk, but you wipe it off, but the rest of it doesn't wipe off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what the intent of that was. But you go to the video and you might be able to see that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can tell from the comments in the chat that we've got a lot of wheels turning.
Program the G code to shake up the pen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I mean, somebody was talking about you could get the canvas from the art department at Michael's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, CNCs will do more than just make chips and laser.
In 2 weeks, you're going to have somebody else on, one of your guys watching here making stuff that's like 10 times more creative than what I've done. I can't wait.
Well, I don't know. That's why I like having people like you on the show, is because it gets everybody's wheels turning. I know it's got mine turning.
Yes, there, Jason Pulliam. He says he's used it to print. He used it to print a template and cut it out with a jigsaw. I've done that. I've already done that. I've drawn some parts on some sheet metal that I needed to cut out that were odd shapes. They were not straight lines. So I did a CAD drawing, drew it on sheet metal, and then I cut it out with snips, the curves, and it was awesome. It's like another great use for it.
Yeah, Becca Miller says, I'm thinking you could use the Sharpie markers to paint, then finish with poly, and it would be so easy. Yeah, I'm thinking that might just work too, Becca.
One quick tip for everybody here on Sharpie markers. They are not super UV resistant. They fade outside in the weather, the sunlight. So if you want to make an outdoor sign, you have to keep that in mind, that it's black doesn't fade as much. Red fades very fast. It's something about the ink.
Yeah, but it's okay for for indoor signs, like those little things people hang in their kitchen and stuff like that.
So far, well, can you see behind me here? How am I supposed to point? If you see the one-way sign up there above my head.
Oh, yeah. Above the door.
Yeah. The one-way sign. Can you see that?
Yep.
That's my custom whiteboard that I made. I hope I'm not shaking this up. That's regular Sharpie marker on white acrylic.
Yeah.
And back down there, I made my channel logo. That's just drawn on a white ABS plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And those have all not faded one bit yet. Yeah. So, whatever sunlight is coming in through my windows here, and I do have a lot of natural light, it's not affecting them. But I have a sign outside down by my hose to tell people not to leave it connected in freezing weather. It was kind of a joke. That is faded very badly because that's outside. Now, they make stabilizers, UV stabilizers. You can buy it like Michael's or craft stores. It's clear. That's supposed to help stabilize and keep UV fade. Well, take it for what it's worth. I sprayed that one that's outside down by my hose, like 3 coats, and it's still faded in, I'd say, 8 months. So, you just don't think you can't. You have to apply whatever marker you're going to use to the purpose. If you want to use something outside, look for something that's UV fade resistant. They do make them, just not. I don't think Sharpie marker makes them. You can go to the craft store and look for one that is UV resistant.
Okay. All righty. Man, the time has flown by. We're about an hour and 20 minutes in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
No problem. I'm well known for going over. I always, it's supposed to be an hour show, and I don't think we've ever been on an hour. All my viewers can tell you that. I usually go about an hour, 15, hour and a half or so. But anyway, we've had a great crowd tonight. We've had nearly 100 folks watching this tonight, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you so much, Brian, for coming on here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody who's came and joined. I really appreciate it.
And I've already been instructed by some folks over in the chat that I got to have you back on. So, keep putting out those awesome videos, and we'll have you back on again. And like I said, I know you got all the wheels turning, so I can't wait to see what
Me too.
these folks come up with now, and especially what you come up with next. But
Oh, hey,
anyway,
and does anyone if anyone out there go post any of their stuff on Reddit? There's a couple of cool forums out there. I mean, it's just a great place to post your projects or another where to get it's inspiration. And even if you have questions about some CNC stuff, it's good. Reddit is pretty good for that. There's a CNC and a hobby CNC Reddit that are pretty good. And I post stuff on there when I can.
okay.
It's just another great resource for us,
All righty. Well, we've got all kinds of good comments here tonight. Looks like everybody enjoyed the show, but it's time to wind this one up, folks. So again, thank you, Brian, for joining me tonight. Thanks everybody else for tuning in. And if I can find that magic button here, yeah, I think I got it right here. We are going to wave and smile and say good night, y'all. Everybody have a great weekend.